Crowdfunding has emerged as a dynamic alternative for enterprises looking to secure funding and investors alike. Here in Oman, over 5.8 million Omani rials were raised from 2022 to the first half of 2024. Today, we're joined by the CEO of Omani tech company Mamun, which recently launched its fintech arm. They've successfully raised over 1 million Omani rials in a span of 10 months. Saleh Al Tamami, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. All right, so for those unfamiliar with it, how would you explain crowdfunding in simple terms? Why do you think it's become such a game changer for businesses and investors alike?
Great. So crowdfunding really is in the name. So it's crowdfunding, wherein the crowd, a crowd of people, both come together, all of them come together to fund businesses or projects. There's several types of crowdfunding, but the main one is where businesses come to seek financing or funding from the crowd. So the crowd will sign up to platforms similar to us, they'll come to Mamun, and in it they will find different investment opportunities to invest in. And together as a crowd, they will fund these businesses.
All right, can you give us like a walkthrough about your platform and also tell us a little bit about the story behind Mamun?
Great. So we've been a fintech company now for 3.5 years. We built our own technology, a middleware fintech technology that makes it easier for companies, enterprises, banks, telecom operators to create different fintech products, whether it's payments related, lending, investing, savings. So we built this from the ground up. So we started our journey, and our first client actually was a Saudi unicorn that used our tech. And this tech is now used to lend or has lent over $4.5 million in loans. During this time, today Oman Housing Bank uses our tech, Oman Tel, Uridu, all of them used our tech. But 10 months ago about a year ago is when we decided let's create a subsidiary and pivot the company more towards using our tech to do our own financing investments products and opportunities, coupled with a wealth management side, which is, coupled together comes crowdfunding. So we got licensed by FSA, Financial Services Authority, to do this. And we launched 10 months ago. Just as a small anecdote, Mamun, the name, we came up with it because we were looking for a name that reflects trust, safety in fintech. So Mamun in Arabic means entrusted. And it's also easy on the tongue for both Arabic and English speakers.
Yeah, okay. So you guys offer different types of crowdfunding, including equity crowdfunding, as seen with your recent campaign for Zamili, which was the first of its kind in Oman, right? So can you please tell us about the different types of crowdfunding that you guys offer?
Great. There's, generally speaking, 4 types of crowdfunding investments. So the first is, let's say you are a new entrepreneur or someone with an idea, and you need some funding to start your idea, right? So you would go and you would seek funding, but without necessarily giving people a return on their money. For example, I might be a new producer of water bottles. It's this new kind of crazy technology for water bottles. But I need some financing to help me start my production. So I promise if investors invest in me, I will give them or sell them the bottle of water at a discount. Or I'll give them a t-shirt that says, thank you, water is awesome. A kind of a reward, right? And that's usually called reward crowdfunding. The other is you have equity. So companies have shares in them. They're also seeking funding to grow or to expand, etc. So they offer the sale of their shares to the public, similar to what an IPO is, but at a much, much smaller scale. So we were the first crowdfunding platform in Oman to do the first equity crowdfunding investment here, which was for Zamili. And Zamili is a freelance platform for freelancers here in Oman. Amazing growth, amazing local tech startup story. And we were privileged to be part of their fundraising campaign. The third type that I would focus on, or really our focus on today, is short-term financing. A business would require funds to purchase raw materials, to buy a new type of equipment, but they don't have the cash to do that. So we come in, we finance that, so that it could be between 3 months to 2 years. They pay installments, similar to what a loan is. And that's really the bulk of the financing or crowdfunding that we do. We also do all of this in a Sharia compliant way as well.
All right. So speaking of that, why do you guys focus on Sharia compliant investments, and what makes an investment Sharia compliant?
Excellent question. Really, it is a choice. It's not mandatory that you do it or mandated by the regulator. So it was a moral choice, amongst ourselves as partners. We decided on it, but really we debated this a lot in the early days. It's much harder to do Sharia compliant investment than conventional.
Why is that?
Harder because you have more stringent requirements, more limitations in terms of your investments and financing. For example, a big tenet of Sharia compliance is you cannot charge interest over interest. You cannot put a money value over money itself. Sharia compliance works more towards real tangible trade, real tangible business transactions, and financing those transactions. So there has to be an economic activity. Whereas with conventional finance, it's very easy for me to say, here is 100,000 rials, pay me 5% annually. And if you're late in paying, the interest adds up. So it becomes money over money. So this is there's no tangible economic reason for charging this kind of interest, right? Where in Sharia compliance, it's much more stringent. There are controls and mechanisms done through, hundreds and thousands of years of research that makes it more real. We like this because it promotes actual economic development. There is a direct link between what we're financing and the outcome of that financing. So this is really why we chose it.
All right. So building off our previous question, what kind of criteria are in place for you guys to pick companies that are eligible for crowdfunding?
So we look at a lot of things. And I would argue that we look at things deeper than a traditional bank or a lender would. I say this for the main reason that we do not take necessarily collaterals from these businesses when we make them eligible for financing or investment. So we have to really study the business. We look at their financial statements. We look at their mala'a reports of the owners and the company, bank statements, the sector that they are in. Different sectors differ from the other. And we look at their projections, their business plan. We really dig deep and dive into the business case. It's very easy, a business to say, and it may very well be traditionally eligible for, say, 50,000 rials. It's very easy to say, all right, here's 50,000 rials, as long as you give me collateral worth 100,000 rials, collateral such as land or a house or a building, etc. And, you just charge it or discharge it 50,000 rials. But with us, because we do not take such collaterals, we really have to limit how much exactly you're taking in loans so that we don't overburden the business with too many loans. And we've had live examples of this in the platform. A business would come to us, a business that was seeking options. It was talking to one finance company, and the finance company said, why are you looking for a loan of 100K? Why don't you just take 250,000 and pay it over 5 years? But when we dug deeper into the business, we recognized that in one of their business streams, one of their activities, was something we could directly finance and support. This was a coffee shop. It was looking to expand its number of branches. But we found out that it's also involved in buying coffee in bulk, roasting it, packaging it, and selling packaged coffee to different coffee shops. So in this specific case, we advise them that let us finance the purchase of this coffee in bulk that you do anyways, that you spend cash on anyways. Let us bring in the investor's cash to do that. So that frees you up to do your existing cash to do whatever it is that you wanted, which is open up new branches, buy equipment, etc. In this specific transaction, we found out that we contributed to the importation in coffee in Omani terms, about 0.5% of Oman's total coffee imports in a year, you know? So 0.5% sounds small,
That is
but
huge.
but we became a statistic or part of the statistic, you know? So that was cool. That was
How much is that in like tons or kg, if you guys have the figure?
I can't recall the kg or tonnage, but in this case, the value was 50,000 Omani rials. And that represented 0.5%. I think total in a year, Oman spends or imports about $25 million worth of coffee.
Interesting. All right, so raising 1 million Omani rials in the span of 10 months is huge. What are the key factors that contributed to achieving the success, and what are some of the challenges that you guys faced?
Okay, there are several, so I'm gonna try to list them in order. So God, I think definitely at the top of the list. Second is our team. You know, we put in a lot of work. We continue to put in a lot of work. Our partners, our stakeholders. Then a really big one is His Majesty's Vision 2040. You know, alternative finance is a huge pillar of Vision 2040, and we fall under that domain. So if there wasn't the vision, the will, and to follow it, the regulations that allow us to do this, we wouldn't have reached where we are, of course. So these are very foundational, important, elements of where we've reached so far. This also includes stakeholders like the Financial Services Authority, RIADA, or the Authority for SME Development. All of these were huge elements to our success. And of course, finally, last but not least, the investors who trusted the platforms, who signed up, who were early adopters, who so far also benefited and received profits and have made money through the platform. And they were patient with us since the early days. So they're a huge element to this. And the other side of the coin are the businesses that found us or that we found them, who sought financing, who started their journey way before we existed in building a good, viable business that had the potential to grow, but it just needed financing to help them do that. So all of these factors, I would say, contributed to where we are.
And what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Gosh, when we started, in the supply-demand equation, you have you always try to get one of the other, right? In our case, when we started, we thought the supply side of the equation was the investors putting in money. We thought money was the supply. And the demand was businesses who are looking for financing. But fast forward today, that equation is actually opposite. The investors are the demand. They want these investments. Whereas now, our role as a platform is to give them a nice, steady supply of businesses, good quality businesses that are looking for financing. So switching between this mindset, I feel, was a challenge. If I was to say another challenge is the need to be switched on in terms of how we perform our due diligence with these businesses, right? So, and I only mention it in terms of as a challenge because it does take effort. But alhamdulillah, we have a clean record with our investments. We've done over 31 investments so far. 9 of them have reached their due dates. They've all paid on time, etc. This is a positive kind of a challenge to keep this pace, to keep this clean record, and we're very adamant at continuing this. These, I would say, are sort of the top challenges that we faced.
Interesting. You guys helped raise funds for businesses from across various sectors. Can you share some of the success stories of these companies?
Quite a few. So one that really sort of sits at top of mind is Bin Zahar. Bin Zahar, they're a car servicing and garage company. If your car needs oil change, checkups, things like that, and they serve premium brands and premium oil, lubricants, products. 100% Omani success story. They started with one branch, they've expanded to 4. In the future, now there are plans for 2-3 more branches. And they were one of the earliest sort of businesses that we financed. So it was great to see them grow, to see them have the ability to get financing relatively quickly. They're one of the businesses whom recently raised 100,000 rials through the platform, and we closed it within a couple of hours. One of our records. So very, very proud of that. Another one is a plastics manufacturer. So this is a factory called Oman. They produce plastic pipes for electricity, water supply, things like that. One of 6, I believe, factories in the country that do this. Recently started, relatively speaking, about 2.5, 3 years ago, and their capacity is growing. And part of their needs are they need to buy raw plastic that kind of looks like rice, okay, and then they have to melt it down and create these plastic pipes. So we contributed, very well to their expansion and their ability to service orders and demands from their clients. Zamili is definitely, I think, also definitely worth a highlight. Again, great tech startup story, tremendous growth. And they're specifically interesting because with them, Zamili is similar to Fiverr, Upwork, these kind of freelance platforms, but they're localized, which gives them a very, very unique edge. It's an example of a platform that links, buyers of services, which are usually SMEs, companies that are looking to purchase the services of freelancers, okay? So it has this ecosystem of users constantly buying from each other. And specifically, freelancers today, relatively speaking, anywhere around the world, are relatively underbanked, meaning if a freelancer is a professional with camera equipment and photography, and they do these kind of services, if they needed to buy a new camera, or if their camera broke down and they desperately need a camera to do more services, to actually have an income from it, it's very difficult for them to access financing, traditional financing. So we were very interested with Zamili because it gives us a chance to also finance Zamili's own ecosystem. So tomorrow, freelancers that require quick financing for, say, even if it's 100 rials, 500 rials plus, they could get it through the crowdfund as an investment note, as an investment structure. So we're very proud of that. And overall, I would say there's a specific metric by the IFC, or International Finance Corporation, that states lending or financing SMEs in the value of $1 million, which is about 350,000 Omani rials, contributes to the creation of about 16.3 permanent jobs, or secures new jobs and existing jobs in the value of 16 jobs. For every $1 million spent, 16 jobs. In the past 10 months, we've done this now with almost $3 million. So we can confidently say that we've at least contributed to the creation or sustainability of over 40 jobs. And that's a super, super proud metric for us to have.
I've been told that one of your campaigns closed in 20 seconds. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this was a campaign for 10,000 rials and 300, so 10.3K. This was Rawat al-Ibda', a family-owned business that specializes in gardening and landscaping for these sort of Airbnbs, chalets, and barka, also football pitches. So it was relatively a small amount, and the investment was for 9 months, I believe. So it's 9 months with 3 installments. And when we listed it in the investment or in the platform, it just got closed in seconds. Every time you refresh, you just see the marker of the investment just go higher and higher. So a lot of people were really not happy that they didn't get the chance to invest in it. So a lot of our investments today, the hard work takes prior to listing them in the platform, the due diligence, the homework, the research on the business. But once we put it in the platform, they close within seconds, like this case, minutes, maximum an hour. I think for the past 5-6 investments that we've done, the max was 2-3 hours, and the fastest now was this 20 seconds.
Interesting. So Mamun boasts an impressive average internal rate return of 20%. How do you guys ensure such strong returns for your investors while maintaining a 0% default rate?
So two things to this. One is because we don't ask for collaterals, it means, yes, we do come at a premium, slightly premium cost to businesses when they seek funding. So this is one of the reasons why. The second is a lot of these businesses can actually afford it. They have great margins, and there is room for this kind of a share of the profits, let's say, to the investors. And then a lot of the investments are also short term. So for example, if the investment duration is 3 months long and the ROI or the profit on it is 5%, it's the same as if it was 20% during a year, because there's 4 quarters in a year, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. So this is also another sort of element to when calculating this. And then our pricing or the returns come at the expectation of the risk level of the business. So the higher the risk, the higher the returns, the lower the risk, the slightly lower returns. But even the lowest risk campaigns or investments that we've done outperform in terms of returns to a fixed deposit, stock market, and a lot of other forms of investment, real estate included. And the fact of the matter is, this is the real economy, right? You're investing in actual business, actual trade, and this is the kind of returns. Banks do this all the time. But the key difference with us is the crowd gets to participate in it, and hence get the majority share of the returns and the rewards.
Interesting. So I've been told that you guys have a portfolio of over 3,000 investors, 3,700 to be
Correct.
accurate,
Yeah.
from 7 countries. Who are these investors and who can invest in Mamun?
So they are, your average person aged anywhere between 22 to 45, usually working professionals, people who are starting to realize that investment or investing should start at the earliest time possible. In the investment world, regardless of the returns, your biggest element that you need to overcome is time. Because with time, you can compound your investments over and over and really grow wealth. There's a difference between someone starting investing at the age of 16, 15, and they exist, they're out there, versus someone starting to invest when they're 60, right? Because you have so many years to really compound your wealth. And I think more and more people are realizing that you live in a world that's very consumer-based. We spend a lot, but thinking of saving or investing is usually an afterthought. There is more sort of awareness today than there was perhaps decades ago. So you see more people starting to really look deep within themselves on how they could start investing today. So platforms like us that have this amazing potential returns are a great option and a great sort of avenue for them to do this, to grow their wealth.
And what's the lowest investment that a person can contribute
50
with?
rials, that's all it takes. If we could even do it lower, which we plan to, we would. But 50 rials is the lowest, is the minimum sort of investment someone could make. So it doesn't take much. Mm-hmm. As long as you do it frequently, as long as you do it thoughtfully, 50 rials could easily turn into 100 rials within a very short span of time.
And can you please tell our viewers and listeners, how does it work? How can they access Mamun?
So we're entirely a website. We don't have an app. We don't want to overburden your phone with apps. So you go to mamun.om, mamun.om. You sign up, email, mobile number, create a password, and then you take a picture of your ID card or passport or residency card. You take a selfie so that we make sure your face matches the picture in the ID card. We screen everyone for potential AML or anti-money laundering, usual requirements that a bank or any financial institution would need to have for the security of the entire platform and everyone else, right? And then you're in. So this usually takes 2 to 3 minutes max. And then once you're logged in, you would have your own Mamun designated wallet. So you deposit money into it, either through a bank transfer or through just use your debit card online, like you're doing a checkout online, like you're buying from Shein or Temu or whatever it is. And then once you have your funds in your wallet, you can choose and see available open investments to invest in. So with that, we'll tell you about the business, what is the risk profile, what are the returns, what's the duration of the investment, and then you get to decide. Once we open the investment listing for open to the public, then you can invest. We also have 3 membership tiers for investors. There's the starter, then there's the paid professional and paid premium. These 2 memberships, there is an annual fee to them that gives you more benefits like exclusive access to certain high return deals, short-term deals, and also lower fees in terms of deposit fees, things like that.
Interesting. All right. So ethical and inclusive finance seems to be a big part of Mamun's mission. How do you balance profitability while promoting financial inclusion and fostering economic growth?
What we do is a huge element to empowering economic growth. Like I mentioned with the job numbers, that's real, that's tangible. These are people's salaries, for months on end, years on end. Then that increases their spending capacity to spend elsewhere. So that's real economic activity. Another one is trade. Oman today imports a lot, but we also export. A lot of exporters here, oftentimes than not, require financing or facilities to be able to build or create whatever they're exporting, to be able to export it and sell it. So this is a huge, and a real tangible element to economic growth. SMEs contribute, I believe, 70-80% of GDP contribution in the country. And this is, I think, the average worldwide. At the same time, they also contribute 50-60% of employment. So if we become an important avenue for alternative financing and investment for this economic critical segment of businesses, then we're directly contributing to GDP here, right? In terms of ethical and sustainability, again, there's also now more awareness from financial institutions ourselves as demanded by investors to ensure that there's a component within a business's operations that are more sustainable, that are economically beneficial. And we have added this as an element that we look at for any business that's seeking financing. So for example, if we feel a business is promoting a really bad, negative, pollution-related, activity that's extremely bad for the environment, etc., we counter that. We look at it. We consider it as a score, as a point, as part of our due diligence program. More and more, this area itself is becoming more quantified. So it'd be easier for, again, financial institutions like us, investors, to know how ethical or how sustainable a certain business or investment is. And then part of our ethical sort of arm is the Sharia compliance. We do not invest or finance businesses that are not Sharia compliant. And this is more of an ethical, moral, religious reasoning linked to the ethical component in ESG.
All right. So looking ahead, how do you envision the future of crowdfunding in Oman, and what role would Mamun play in it?
I think crowdfunding will more and more become an important source of financing for SMEs and investments for SMEs on one hand. On the other hand, it will become a more prominent position in terms as a wealth building tool for investors. For us, Mamun, we've loved our trajectory so far. It's just been 10 months. We've crossed 1 million rials in lending, exceeding our own expectations. And now we just need to continue the growth, improve the platform, improve the opportunities in it, and really, really grow. And I think the size of our growth is sky's the limit. It's limitless. So we just have to keep doing what we're doing, do it better, learn from it, iterate, and really contribute to crowdfunding success and SME success. And investor success in the country. So just bigger, better, faster,
Stronger.
Stronger.
All right. Thank you so much, Saleh.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Hiba. Thank you.